My name is Sheena Norquay and my quilt is called 16 Pots and Jugs of Flowers. I had done a little embroidery with the same kind of design in October 2020, and I had been experimenting with the Bernina free motion couching foot, so I thought it might be fun to try and enlarge the actual design and free motion couch the design, so that's what I did. So I split it into panels, 4 panels, and the colour goes from light turquoise up in the top left to dark navy in the bottom right. So each circle has a jug or a vase of flowers. They're all symmetrical designs, of course, so it's kind of traditional, but it's done in a kind of contemporary technique. Most of the yarns I bought locally where I live in Inverness. Some of them are wool, some of them are acrylic. I went for the colour and so it took me about, I would say, about 165 hours to do the whole thing. I had large sheets of paper and I did sketch out the designs. I didn't select the colours initially, I just made up the colours as I went along. But certainly the patterns in the vases I didn't do initially, I did that as I went along as well. So I tried to make each one completely different. I did mark the circles with a pencil or with chalk, and at some point when I was doing the quilting coming in from here, when I was doing these radiating lines, I had a circle of paper marked out at intervals, so I put pins in where I was going to aim for when I was doing the free motion quilting. So I started in the corner and I came in and out and in and out and in and out. That's how I did that. You know, when you've been doing it since about 1975, you would know everything. You don't know everything. You'll never know everything. And each quilt that you make, you learn something new. And, you know, you think, I would still like to try more new things. I think the biggest buzz I get is when the last stitch goes into them. But it is nice to see them hanging up because, you know, in a small flat, you can't hang them up and stand back very far. It was when I was at college in the 1970s. I was doing two-dimensional design, which involved creative embroidery and weaving and all kinds of textiles. And we had an exercise to do with fabric one day. We had a pattern fabric, which we had to use and pick out the colours in the fabric. And then we had to do English paper piecing with, you know, the main fabric and the other colours, and stitch it back together, and that was about it. And then it kind of got me hooked because one of my friends was making a hexagon bed cover at that point. So I got into hexagons and English paper piecing in the 70s. And then Dorothy Osler came up to Inverness around about 1980 with this machine patchwork course, and it was a revelation to us. We didn't know you could machine the bits together. So that went on for a while, and I kept doing, you know, traditional designs, and then eventually I started doing my own ideas. And then I started winning competitions and winning Bernina sewing machines, and I got into free motion quilting in the early days, in the 1980s, when it was, you know, in its infancy. And so I've been developing, you know, my vocabulary of free motion quilting since then. And, you know, trying out lots of different techniques and so on and so forth.